Hi, it's Friday, October 1st, 2010, about 1:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Culver City, California. If you're members, and you will have noticed that over the past week or so, I have been participating heavily on a daily basis, commenting on stories found on our World News Desk that go up roughly twice a day. That's because events are requiring that I do that. It's the fastest way to relay information to you, and there's good reason for that. Over this past week or 10 days, events around the world have reached a whole new level of crisis proportions, and the crisis is now erupting very, very quickly in ways that you will not see largely on mainstream news. But now I think it's important for all members to understand that I'm going to be participating on the World News Desk on a daily basis, making comments directly about these key events as they're taking place around the world, because we now need to be prepared for anything. We are standing at the edge of chaos. I'm not one who likes to use hyperbole, but sometimes you have to use the right word to describe the right situation. We're looking now at currency wars, trade wars, coups, violent civil unrest, military moves that are very alarming, and a whole host of things which indicate that we're going to be in very serious trouble much faster than we think, and I need to be able to come to you to warn about it as quickly as possible. With regard to currency wars, the Bank of Japan just yesterday intervened to buy large quantities of U.S. dollars in an attempt to raise the price of U.S. dollars against the yen, because Japan's economy is absolutely imploding and paralyzed by a weakening yen. And this has signaled, it's just symptomatic of currency wars that are now breaking out all over the world. But with regard to the Bank of Japan's move, Zero Hedge today reported that this move is, quote, an open declaration of war between the Bank of Japan, the Federal Reserve, and other central banks. And that is happening everywhere because, as you've seen from our news desk every day, Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Russia, South Korea, Romania, and Thailand are also engaging in massive currency moves right now to prevent, which won't, they're only going to make it worse, a currency exchange war. This kind of volatility is absolutely disastrous, but what is clear is that the U.S. dollar is weakening across the board. Now, we're going to start there, and I will come back and close with the U.S. dollar at the end of this alert. But also, now we see civil unrest breaking out all over Europe. We've had massive strikes in Ireland, Greece, and these are not just strikes, so be very careful of how you use the word. If you've been looking at the World News Desk stories, Dale, you understand that this is massive civil unrest. We had something like, 100,000 people in a Spanish protest. But the worst of all the civil unrest that's now manifesting all over the world has been in Ecuador, where a coup attempt has almost ousted President Correa, who is essentially an ally of President Hugo Chavez in Venezuela. As a result of this incident, which put President Correa in the hospital, now Ecuador's borders with Peru and Colombia have been closed. This is just a few short inches, a few short feet short of a declaration of war, and perhaps in preparation for military intervention, which would in effect be a proxy war, a surrogate war between the United States and other nations in Latin America seeking to protect Latin American resources for the Latin American people. But the volatility of this now has gotten out of hand, and it's going to be getting worse. Basically, we can expect a lot more violence in a great many countries in a very short period of time, and I wouldn't be surprised if some happened here as well. But Europe is absolutely melting down as quantitative easing 2, as we call it here, or another round of bailouts, which is what it really is starting to be leaked, and it's starting to hit the minds of peoples and governments all over Europe. The Irish government is about ready to fall, and it will have to succumb to the power of the hedge funds with huge credit default swaps. That will actually make more money if the Irish government fails. That will trigger a tapping of the European bailout fund, which then would absolutely put Portugal and Spain next on the plate. In other words, those dominoes are falling all over the place. But there's a lot of other stuff happening too. From Digital Journal today, that's a highly respected publication, this virus, Stuxnet, which you've been reading about on our World News Desk, which has been attacking computers in Iran that control infrastructure, has suddenly found its way into millions of computers in China. this can be construed in no other way except for the fact that it is a cyber attack, and the Chinese will react to it thusly. Now, I got to be clear on this because of all my experience in studying and reporting on covert operations, that quite often weapons like this are fashioned by a third party with the label of a second party to provoke a conflict that the third party didn't know about. We do not know where Stuxnet originated, and we shouldn't speculate about it. But the plain fact is this, and nothing less, that you must be cognizant of the fact that China will take this as a war attack, an active war on its infrastructure and its mainframes. How it will retaliate remains to be seen. But isn't that nice now that the U.S. Congress, the House of Representatives, has passed it, the U.S. Senate is about to vote on this real fast-track bill to declare China a currency manipulator and impose tariffs on Chinese goods. I've been saying for years, I said it in From the Wilderness, I said it on the blog, I said it in Crossing the Rubicon, and I've said it here, that trade wars are inevitable along with the currency wars. What this means is this is the kind of historic instability that brought us events like World War I and World War II. I'm not exaggerating, and those of you who are historians will understand this. Everything happens faster now, especially because of the complexity of the age that we live in and because of the speed of technology and the way it drives world events. So these are I have just ordered a fresh supply of potassium iodide, which, in case you don't know, and let me remind you, is a pill you can take that will prevent absorption of radiation into your thyroid glands in the event of a nuclear attack, which will keep you from being exposed to that. I'm not ruling out anything at this point, and that is the definition of chaos. We don't know how far and how fast this stuff may go. What's very clear is that it's happening. If I were to kind of summarize what's going on, and actually this will come back to a point that I made to all of you in the movie Collapse, which just had its premiere in Great Britain and is getting rave reviews and a lot of attention. The movie's running on Planet Green right now. What I said in the movie was the cliff event, the end, the real visible, tangible, final breakdowns of human industrial civilization will happen when the price of oil spikes again and no one can afford to buy that oil. This is a shorthand version which encompasses everything else I've just described to you, and those signs are here right now. Over the course of the year, I've followed oil prices very closely on a daily basis. We saw mild fluctuations in the range of $70 to $75 a barrel, and they stay there. I mean, not even Deepwater Horizon prompted a spike in oil prices. Now that peak oil is out of the closet, we see a couple of things happening, and both of them are exacerbated by the weakening of the U.S. dollar, which the Fed and the Treasury are actively promoting at this point. That's why they want China to revalue its yuan to make our currency weaker, to ostensibly trigger some import purchases or export purchases from our country to overseas. Don't hold your breath. All right, first of all, oil today closed at $81.87, something like that, just under $82 a barrel. And this number should be significant for all of us because on the blog and before we launched CollapseNet and here, we've posted stories repeatedly that said $82 oil is the point at which the IMF said it would have a serious dampening effect, shutdown effect on the global economy because people have a hard time affording that oil. But what does that do to you if your dollar is getting weaker? That means oil prices are going to hit you that much harder. There's another clear warning signal, and they both work very well together, and they confirm the reality. That is gold price. Gold is continuing an almost meteoric price rise, now up $8-10 today, but well over $1,300 an ounce. And I have said $2,000 gold by the end of the year. I'm going to stick by that. I believe that that's going to happen. Now, whether it's $1,850 or $2,100, it doesn't make any difference. That's a rough benchmark for what I see happening. And that's directly as a result of two things. Number one, people buying gold, recognizing that it's maybe the only safe place to put your money, but also the weakening of the U.S. dollar, because gold is also denominated in dollars. And if there is any hint of a currency war, and I just, our news desk tells you that the currency war is already underway and the dollar takes a massive hit, that's one thing that will absolutely cause gold to spike. But what you have to understand now is that we may be looking at an oil price spike to $90 a barrel within the next month, something like that. And we don't know yet what $82 a barrel oil is going to do. And I got to go back and reiterate that over the course of this year, up until now, we saw oil going up and down and up and down. I have seen for the past 10 days, again, this last 10-day window is really significant, a steady increase on a daily basis in the price of oil. So all of these signs say, look, everybody pay attention. And if you're a member, I want you to make it a point to check the World News Desk at least twice a day, morning and evening. I'm making comments up there on stories, and I'm issuing warnings because it's much faster to do that there on that news desk. We can do it almost instantly in text, whereas if I do a video like this, it's got to get uploaded, edited, it's got to get formatted, it takes time. And the idea now is that we communicate to you quickly. If you haven't been to the directory lately, you'll see that it's looking much better. We're now up almost around 500 listings. The quality of the listings is improving. We're having some amazing help from Susie Gruber and other people making this directory sing for you. It's very important. It's going to get much more important. And so I want you to pay attention to the directory, and if you can find any links that are worthwhile you want to send us that will help people build lifeboats and prepare, please send them to us. It's all right there. It's much easier to use. And finally, for all of you who have been following me on the Progressive Radio Network in my radio show, The Lifeboat Hour, we're having a great time. I'm getting my legs at this. I'd never been a host before. It's fun. We're playing the music of New White Trash, and we're having some killer guests. So this Sunday, my guest on the Progressive Radio Network at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, will be none other than Dmitry Orlov. And if I have to tell you who he is, well, he's just a great Russian guy who lived through collapse in Soviet Union and has written several great books. He's a very funny, brilliant, humorous guy who will talk to us about the 5 stages of collapse and what he sees happening right now. All right, thanks for your time. I'll be back here as I need to, but please put your attention on the World News Desk. See you later.